Road Dogg Boxing, motherfucker.
Is going to fight Arthur Beterbiev.
The Duck, add a question. Throw that shit out of here. Beterbiev or Bivol, they're not ducking nobody.
Duck usually means that you don't want the fight at all. A duck means you're going to take on a lesser opponent in your next fight. Dmitry Bivol is ducking Benavidez to fight
a monster.
Arthur Beterbiev?
A monster. The second fight wasn't easy, guys. The second fight was tough.
So this past week, on Monday, April 7th to be exact, was the day that Dmitry Bivol decided to relinquish the WBC world title at the light heavyweight division. And ever since then, there's been a lot of discussions, a lot of talks about whether Dmitry Bivol ducked David Benavidez or not. And the reason for me showing you guys a previous video of Chris Algieri and Dan Canobio discussing this topic was because these guys took the words right out of my mouth. Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev aren't ducking nobody, especially not Bivol, okay? And I'm going to tell you what's really going on with this whole situation involving Dmitry Bivol, David Benavidez, the WBC, and Mauricio Sulaiman. But before we do, make sure y'all hit my like button, subscribe to my channel, and let's get it in. So, I'm going to begin by addressing the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address real quick. And it's so obvious, but nobody wants to call out Mauricio Sulaiman out on this. So the biggest role at play here is corruption. A whole lot of corruption and mafia type of activity going on here. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. So let's take a look back at David Benavidez's career a couple of years ago when he was in the super middleweight division. And at that time, the WBC world champion at the super middleweight division was, and concurrently is, Saul Canelo Alvarez. And just like David is, or he was, Bivol's Mando for just a couple of days before making David the new email paper champion, David was also Canelo's mandatory at 168. But not for just a couple of days or a couple of weeks like David was for Bivol. No. David Benavidez was Canelo's mandatory for years, bro. And not once did Mauricio Sulaiman ever enforce the mandatory on Canelo Alvarez to fight David Benavidez. So why give Canelo all the grace in the world? And second of all, why didn't they give that same amount of grace period to Dmitry Bivol that they did to Saul Alvarez? Isn't he worth it? You know? Hasn't Dmitry Bivol put enough work in? But y'all want to know why he didn't get the same grace period that Saul did? I'll tell y'all why. It's corruption. At the end of the day, all of this he said, she said, oh, Dmitry is ducking David means not a damn thing. Because at the end of the day, this whole situation of David Benavidez becoming a new WBC world champion at the light heavyweight division is simply a product of corruption. Because not only is it not fair to Dmitry Bivol, but this also makes David Benavidez look bad as well. And if you're wondering, how does this make David Benavidez look bad? Well, it's because David Benavidez is just going along with the corrupted plan. He's going along with the corruption. This is why he made that post trying to save face, talking about Dmitry Bivol has decided to vacate his title instead of fighting me, and this is not the ideal way of becoming a world champion. Alright, bro, you got that, right? But psych, man. I mean, you might be fooled, he might be fooling other people, but you're not fooling me. This post by David Benavidez is all cap. He says that this is not the ideal way of becoming a world champion, but that's a lie. This is exactly what they were after, a vacant title. If that were me, I wouldn't even took that belt. I wouldn't even want it. But it is what it is, and it was what it was. So now David Benavidez is the new email champion, right? The new paper champion. and he's talking about he wants to put on the best fights. All right. I mean, it sounds good. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But back to what I was saying about the WBC, Mauricio Sulaiman, and corruption. Another thing I noticed about the WBC is they do a good job of making both parties, both fighters, look bad. Like in this situation, where they give Bivol no choice but to drop his belt because he's under a contract to fight Arthur Beterbiev on Real season, right? So he has to drop his belt. That's not a good look. And then now David Benavidez looks like a fake ass email champion. He looks like a weak ass paper champion. Didn't have to earn it. It was given to him. Another time that the WBC made both fighters, the champion and the mandatory, both look bad was when they elevated Vasily Lomachenko to franchise champion and made Devin Haney the email champion. But that by now is water under the bridge. It's years back, but it's happened, you know. But let me give you another example of corruption and foul play that is in play by the WBC. Jermall Charlo was the WBC world champion at the middleweight division for 3 years. Carlos Adames was his mandatory, and not once did they ever make Jermall Charlo fight Carlos Adames. They let Jermall Charlo hold on to that belt for 3 years before losing it outside of the ring, where Jermall Charlo got arrested for his 7th DUI and made the news. That's the only reason why they decided to strip Jermall Charlo. That's when they finally made Carlos Adames the email paper champion. Now compare that 3-year grace period that they gave Jermall Rum Punch Charlo compared to the 1 month grace period that they gave Dimitri Bivol. Sebastian Fundora became WBC world champion at 154 last year, March 15th, where he defeated Tim Tszyu. And have they enforced Sebastian Fundora to defend his title versus mandatory or interim belt holder Virgil Ortiz? Let me remind you, Sebastian Fundora has held on to their belt for over a year and running, and still no mandatory has been enforced on Fundora. But nevertheless, congratulations to David Benavidez for becoming the new world champion at the light heavyweight division. I hope that he does keep his word and he does make the best fights moving forward. I know that right now he is receiving a lot of crap, a lot of criticism for the way that he became world champion. And, you know, it is what it is. But this situation does remind me a lot of the Devin Haney situation, when Devin Haney was also elevated to world champion and the WBC decided to make Vasily Lomachenko a franchise champion. Devin Haney was also deemed a email champ, but with some respectable title defenses versus Jorge Linares and Jojo Diaz, and then finally going to Australia to defeat George Kambosos twice. He earned some respect on his email championship belt. And sure, you know, in the beginning, like I said, Devin Haney was deemed an email champ, but by the end of his run at the lightweight division, Devin Haney was a well-respected, undisputed champion. Hopefully we could get to see something similar to that from David Benavidez at the light heavyweight division. Hopefully he does get a couple of good title defenses versus Callum Smith, Anthony Yard. He keeps himself busy defending his title, so by the time Dimitri Bivol is free and available, Benavidez and Bivol can meet up for Undisputed sometime next year. And that's assuming that Bivol gets past Beterbiev, which I'm pretty sure he does. But we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. But as of right now, Benavidez becoming the WBC world title holder at the 175 division is a product of corruption. Samson Lukowicz is sliding Mauricio Suleiman an envelope full of Federal Reserve notes to bribe the WBC into making dishonest and fraudulent power moves to benefit his fighter. But guys, girls, I'm going to end it right there. I could keep going on and on and on, so I'm going to cut it. But let me know what y'all think down in the comment section, man. Let's chop it up. Let's talk some boxing, man. Catch you on the next one, man. You already know. It's been your boy O-Dog Boxing, and I'm out this bitch.